In a world that worships power, what happens to those who have none? What can a man do when he has no wealth, no connections, no authority, only his mind? Niccolo Machiavelli, the man who studied princes and tyrants, taught that leverage is not given, it is created. Today, we uncover how to build leverage when you have nothing through the dark logic of strategy, observation, and manipulation. Because in the game of power, those who appear powerless are simply the ones who haven't learned how to weaponize their position yet. Most people feel invisible, unheard, and easily dismissed because they think power only belongs to the rich or the connected. But Machiavelli knew the truth. Power belongs to those who understand human nature. This video will show you how to create leverage out of nothing, using 6 timeless Machiavellian strategies that turn weakness into silent control. When you have nothing, your first and most dangerous weapon is appearance. Because in the theater of human existence, men don't chase truth, they chase perception. They don't respect what is real. They respect what seems powerful. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. He wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." In those words lies the foundation of leverage itself, because the crowd will always be blind to depth. They judge with their eyes, not their minds. The man who appears confident, capable, and in control will be treated as such, even if beneath that calm mask lies chaos. You see, when you have no wealth, no status, and no title, the world instantly labels you as insignificant. But you are not insignificant. You are simply undefined. And what is undefined can become anything. That's the secret. When people cannot easily categorize you, they project onto you what they fear, what they admire, or what they don't understand. And that projection is your leverage. So how do you build this illusion of value when you have nothing tangible to offer? You begin by mastering presence. Presence is not loud, it's not flashy, it's the quiet confidence of someone who doesn't need to explain himself. When others speak to prove themselves, you remain silent to measure them. When others rush to impress, you stand still and let their noise reveal their desperation. Silence creates space, and in that space, imagination fills the void. They begin to wonder, who is this person? Why is he so calm? What does he know that we don't? That's how illusion begins, not through lies, but through mystery. Machiavelli knew that power begins not with dominance, but with intrigue. The prince who seems to know more than he says gains followers. The man who moves slowly, deliberately, with an air of detachment, gains respect, because people are drawn to certainty, and when you appear certain, they assume you have something they lack. Think of it like this. If the world is a marketplace of attention, then your image is your currency. Even if you have nothing, your posture, your tone, your control of emotion, these are assets. Do not speak of your struggles. Do not display your hunger. Hide your need like a secret wound. The moment you show need, you lose the illusion. The moment you reveal desperation, you give away your leverage. In the modern world, this illusion is even more potent. People measure worth through symbols. The way you dress, the way you speak, the way you carry yourself. You don't need to be rich to appear valuable. You just need to be intentional. A single act of confidence can outweigh 100 acts of insecurity. A few carefully chosen words can make you sound like you belong in rooms you've never entered. When you understand that people don't see reality, they see signals, you begin to design the signals that serve your goals. You begin to present yourself as someone who must be taken seriously, even when your reality hasn't caught up yet. That's how power begins, quietly, invisibly, with perception. The greatest mistake the powerless make is trying to prove themselves. Machiavelli would tell you, never prove, suggest, never plead for recognition, demand it with your presence. When you prove, you look beneath. When you suggest, you look above. The illusion of value isn't deception, it's architecture. You are building the walls of an identity that commands respect even before you have the foundation. And once people treat you as valuable, the world begins to rearrange itself in your favor. Opportunities open, allies appear, enemies hesitate, because appearance doesn't follow power, appearance creates it. When you have no gold to trade, no armies to command, and no titles to display, your mind becomes your treasury. Information is the only weapon that costs you nothing, yet gives you everything. And this is where Machiavelli's genius shines brightest. He understood that in every palace, every court, every city, the man who knows more than he should hold silent power over those who appear to rule. You must understand something fundamental. People reveal themselves constantly through their words, their tone, their small habits, their reactions to praise and insult. Every detail is a clue. Most people waste these clues because they are too busy trying to be noticed. But the Machiavellian thinker, the one who begins with nothing, listens while others speak, observes while others perform, learns while others compete for attention. Information turns the powerless into the invisible ruler. The one who collects secrets doesn't need wealth to influence the wealthy. He doesn't need rank to control those with rank. He needs only to understand their desires, fears, and weaknesses. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must be both fox and lion, strong enough to strike and clever enough to sense traps. For the man with nothing, strength is not his advantage. But cunning can make kings kneel. So when you have no power, your task is simple. Study the map of human nature. Study what moves people, what they crave, what they dread losing, what makes them feel seen or what makes them hide. Every environment has its own hierarchy of influence, the unspoken web that decides who listens to whom. Find that web. Listen to gossip, not to enjoy it, but to dissect it. Listen to the confident man, not to agree with him, but to discover what feeds his ego. Listen to the silent one, for he often knows more than he reveals. And remember this, the more people trust you with their words, the more they unknowingly hand you their strings. You don't need to pull them yet. Just keep them. Observe how every man reveals his weaknesses in the pursuit of validation. The one who collects truth quietly becomes the keeper of invisible chains. In a world where everyone fights to be heard, you gain power by being the one who hears everything. Because when a moment of opportunity arrives, when someone needs your knowledge, your insight, your discretion, that is when information transforms into currency. They will come to you not because of who you are, but because of what you know, and in that moment you will no longer be the one with nothing. Machiavelli knew this intimately. He lived in the shadows of princes and popes, a man with no army, no fortune, and no throne. Yet his words controlled those who ruled. Why? Because he understood how rulers thought. He observed patterns, catalogued motives, and predicted behavior. His influence came not from status, but from strategy. Every piece of knowledge you collect is like a gold coin stored in silence. The more you listen, the richer you become. Information allows you to make precise moves when others act blindly. It allows you to appear one step ahead. And in politics, business, or life, one step ahead is the difference between survival and submission. Even in the smallest circles, in workplaces, friendships, or social groups, this principle rules. Know who envies whom. Know who secretly resents the one above them. Know what your rivals truly fear. Once you understand the emotions driving people, you no longer play their game. You write the rules. Power doesn't come from shouting louder. It comes from knowing what others are too careless to notice. And when you hold knowledge that others depend on, you hold the invisible key to their actions. When you have nothing, you cannot stand alone forever. The world belongs to those who already hold influence. And the wise man understands that proximity to power is the first step toward acquiring his own. But Machiavelli taught a crucial distinction. To stand near power is not the same as being consumed by it. The fool kneels and becomes a servant. The strategist observes and becomes a student of control. You see, most people who lack status rush toward the nearest source of authority, hoping to be accepted, validated, or protected. But those who move with desperation quickly become tools, and tools are easily replaced. Machiavelli would tell you, attach yourself to power, but only as long as it serves your ambition. You must be like the shadow beside the throne, always present, yet never owned. Every powerful figure, a boss, a leader, a ruler, even a social influencer, carries the same weakness. They fear losing their advantage, and in that fear lies your opportunity. When you make yourself useful to power, not as a servant, but as an asset, you become part of what they depend on. Serve their interests, yes, but do so with strategy. Observe what they lack. Fill that gap so precisely that removing you becomes dangerous. But never forget, your loyalty must always remain with your own rise. Machiavelli studied this dance in the courts of Florence. He watched advisors who bowed too deeply fall with the same prince they served. He saw others, quieter ones, who aligned with power yet stayed just distant enough to escape its downfall. He learned that the art is not in obedience, but in calculated closeness. The wise attach themselves to the powerful not to worship them, but to harvest their resources, knowledge, and connections until they can stand alone. The moment you attach yourself to power, your mission begins to learn how they think, how they control others, and what keeps them awake at night. The powerful leave trails of their vulnerabilities everywhere. They reveal it in the people they fear, the decisions they delay, and the things they boast about. Collect these insights quietly. Watch their circle. Study their methods. Their influence becomes your education. Their empire becomes your training ground. Do not mistake service for submission. The difference lies in control. A servant gives away his identity. A strategist performs service as a disguise. You may appear to follow, but in truth, you are learning the architecture of command. The goal is not to become their follower forever, but to eventually mirror their reach and surpass them. Power is contagious, but only for those close enough to feel its temperature without being burned by it. And remember this, those in power are constantly surrounded by flatterers, not thinkers. Be the one who brings clarity, not praise. Offer truth when others offer comfort. Speak when silence will gain you nothing, and be silent when speech might expose your intent. This balance earns respect. It makes the powerful rely on you for what others can't provide. Honesty wrapped in intelligence. That reliance is the seed of your leverage. Machiavelli once observed that the most dangerous position in a kingdom is not that of the king, but of his closest advisor, the man who whispers direction into the ear of authority. He stands one step from greatness and one step from ruin, but he also holds the map. Aligning yourself with power is like standing beside a fire, close enough to feel its warmth, but never so near that it consumes you. When you are nothing, proximity is your bridge to significance. But always walk that bridge lightly, with awareness. Study their behavior, imitate their discipline, and borrow their authority until it becomes your own reflection. Because the one who walks beside the throne without bending the knee learns how the throne truly works. Weakness, it is a word people run from, deny, and bury. Yet Machiavelli understood something the world still refuses to admit. Weakness, when mastered, can become a form of power. Invisibility is not a curse, it is camouflage. Being underestimated is not an insult, it is permission to move unseen. The powerless are only powerless when they accept that label. But the moment they begin to use their position as a disguise, their weakness becomes their strategy. Every empire begins in obscurity. Every strategist starts as an observer. And when you have nothing, that is your advantage. No one is watching you. You are free to plan, to experiment, to prepare, while others waste their energy guarding their positions. Machiavelli believed that the underestimated man is the most dangerous creature alive because he has nothing to lose and everything to learn. He moves through the world without attention, collecting insight, predicting moves, and waiting for the precise moment to strike. Weakness only destroys those who try to hide it. The wise use it. If you are ignored, let it teach you silence. If you are rejected, let it teach you independence. If you are outnumbered, let it teach you strategy. Every limitation you have can become a weapon when placed in the right context. The man who cannot fight with force must learn to fight with perception. The one who lacks status must learn to manipulate it. The one who lacks approval must learn to influence without needing it. Think about it. Those in positions of power are constantly watched, constantly judged. Their every move is recorded, every decision criticized. But when you have nothing, you are free to build in the dark. You can test alliances, gather knowledge, and prepare your rise quietly. That is how Machiavelli's kind of thinker moves, unseen, unheard, yet always advancing. In the art of strategy, unpredictability is one of the purest forms of power. And weakness gives you that advantage. When they think you are too harmless to notice, they speak freely around you. When they think you are too small to threaten them, they lower their guard. When they assume you have no influence, they give you space to maneuver. And that space, that silence, that absence of expectation, that is where you begin to construct leverage. Machiavelli once wrote that it is safer to be feared than loved if one cannot be both. But what he didn't say outright is that before one is feared, one must first be invisible. The invisible man learns how to strike where no one is looking. His weakness becomes his disguise. His silence becomes his weapon. His patience becomes his armor. When you have nothing, people dismiss you. They forget your name, overlook your presence, speak over your voice. Let them. Because while they are busy being loud, you are learning how to use their volume against them. You are learning the rhythm of their egos, the patterns of their greed. Weakness, when understood, grants insight. And insight, true unfiltered observation, is what eventually allows you to predict power before it moves. Most people waste their weakness by complaining about it. They want to appear strong before they have earned strength. But Machiavelli would tell you, a mask of strength without strategy collapses the moment it is tested. Real strategy is forged in disadvantage. When the world doesn't hand you a weapon, you learn to make one. When no one opens doors for you, you learn to move through walls. Weakness, in this sense, becomes the greatest teacher, because it forces you to build strength from the ground up, not from privilege, not from favor, but from necessity. Power built from necessity is harder to take away, and when it grows in silence, steady, precise, unseen until the moment it decides to reveal itself. The weak man who learns how to use his weakness is no longer weak. He is simply waiting for timing, and timing is the heart of every Machiavellian victory. Most people lose not because they are weak, but because they fight in the wrong arena. They are drawn into emotional wars, endless debates, and petty conflicts that serve someone else's agenda. Machiavelli understood this timeless trap. He knew that real power does not belong to the one who swings hardest. It belongs to the one who chooses where the battle is fought. To control the frame is to control the reality itself. Once you control how people see, you no longer need to force them to obey. They obey the picture you've painted. When you have nothing, you can't afford to fight directly. You can't outspend, outshout, or outmuscle those with resources. But you can outthink them. You can set the frame in which every move they make plays to your advantage. Controlling the frame means defining the meaning of every situation before someone else does. It's not about who's right. It's about who defines what right means. Imagine a confrontation. Someone insults you publicly, trying to humiliate you. Most people respond with anger, trying to reclaim respect by reacting. But reaction is surrender. The moment you react, you've entered their frame. You've accepted their definition of the game, that you are beneath them, needing to prove your worth. The Machiavellian mind doesn't respond on command. He rewrites the scene. Silence, calmness, a small smile. These shift the atmosphere. They create discomfort in the aggressor, who suddenly questions his own dominance. You win not by countering the blow, but by redefining the meaning of it. This principle extends beyond insults. It governs power itself. Nations, corporations, leaders, all of them fight to control narratives. The one who writes the story controls the audience, even when the facts are the same. Machiavelli saw this in politics. Whoever controls perception controls the people. And in everyday life, the same law applies. If you control how others interpret events, You don't need to argue. They'll reach your conclusion on their own. To control the frame, you must first control yourself. Emotion breaks your authority faster than failure ever could. The one who appears composed, even in chaos, dictates the tone. When others shout, you lower your voice. When others accuse, you question calmly. When others rush to prove, you hold your silence. Every time you do this, the frame shifts. You become the one defining the pace, the one silently commanding respect without ever demanding it. Machiavelli would tell you that dominance isn't about aggression. It's about definition. When people can't define you, they can't defeat you. The secret lies in forcing others to adapt to your rhythm, your words, your rules. If someone attacks you from a moral position, you turn the frame into one of reason. If they attack from emotion, you move to logic. If they attack from authority, you shift to humility. In every exchange, you're redirecting their energy until their power dissolves in confusion. Most conflicts are lost not because the opponent is stronger, but because one side allows the other to set the terms. The powerful decide what is fair, what is truth, what is success. If you don't define those terms for yourself, you are living inside their definition of reality. Machiavelli's wisdom was to never fight over appearances, but to manipulate the meaning beneath them. The king may have the throne, but if you can define what the throne represents, you can move his followers without touching his crown. So when you have nothing, your task is not to win more fights, it is to win more frames. Make people question, make them doubt, make them interpret events through the lens you create. Power doesn't require force, it requires perspective. The man who defines the frame no longer needs to shout. The world quietly bends toward his version of truth. There is one law that governs every structure of power, from empires to corporations, from kings to common men. The one who cannot be replaced cannot be removed. Machiavelli understood that the ultimate form of leverage is not dominance or fear, but dependence. When others need you more than you need them, they will protect you, defend you, and even elevate you, not out of loyalty but out of necessity. The powerless man who makes himself indispensable ceases to be powerless. When you have nothing, your goal is not to demand value, but to create it. The world is filled with people who shout for recognition while offering nothing unique. The Machiavellian mind takes a different path. He asks, what skill, what insight, what service can I provide that no one else can? What can I do so effectively, so consistently that those above me would fear losing me? Once you answer that, you no longer chase opportunity. Opportunity begins to orbit you. To become indispensable, you must first become precise. Do not try to be everything. Choose something and perfect it until your name and that skill become inseparable. People remember consistency more than brilliance. The reliable man becomes essential. The one who quietly delivers what others can't becomes the silent pillar everyone leans on. Machiavelli wrote that wise rulers surround themselves with capable men, but they also make sure those men remain dependent. You must invert this principle. Become the capable man whom others cannot easily replace. The secret is subtlety. Never announce your importance. Let others discover it. When people realize that things fall apart without you, your leverage grows quietly. They may not praise you openly, but they will ensure you remain in place. Power doesn't always look like command. Sometimes it looks like quiet necessity. The indispensable man holds influence without titles, authority without visibility. He becomes the unseen structure that keeps the system standing. But to reach this stage, you must build your value around something that cannot be easily copied. Skill can be taught, but insight must be earned. Learn how to see what others overlook. Learn to interpret chaos when others panic. The person who brings clarity in confusion becomes invaluable. In times of peace, he is ignored. In times of crisis, he becomes the only voice that matters. Machiavelli knew that rulers trust not those who flatter them, but those who save them when their world begins to crack. Dependence is a slow power. It is not built overnight. It grows through precision, through discipline, through the art of always knowing just a little more, seeing just a little deeper, executing just a little better than anyone else. people will begin to rely on your mind, your stability, your problem solving. They won't call it dependence, but they will feel it. They will keep you close, involve you in decisions, ask your opinions, because you make their world easier to manage. And here lies the quiet truth, Machiavelli would whisper. It is better to be needed than to be loved. Love fades when circumstances change, but need creates invisible chains. The person who loves you can leave you. The one who depends on you cannot. You do not need to demand respect when others require your presence to function. That is the essence of leverage, to become the solution that holds their stability together. Every ruler fears losing control. Every powerful man fears the moment his strength is questioned. The indispensable man uses this fear. He makes himself part of the ruler's structure, the one person whose absence would expose cracks in the empire. And the higher you climb, the more carefully you reinforce this illusion, that without your presence, things collapse. That belief, whether true or not, becomes your protection. Machiavelli's wisdom was not about ruling from the throne, but ruling from necessity. You don't need to be the most visible. You need to be the most essential. The advisor who understands how the system runs quietly holds the true keys to the kingdom. The craftsman who knows the method others can't replicate becomes untouchable. The thinker who predicts crises before they unfold becomes irreplaceable. Power gravitates toward stability, and the one who embodies stability becomes the axis around which everything turns. In the end, understand this: power is never given, it is constructed. Every great empire, every feared ruler, every respected name began not with privilege, but with the ability to see differently. Machiavelli teaches us that leverage is not wealth, nor status, nor even luck. It is the mind that bends circumstance to its will. The one who waits for opportunity dies waiting. The one who creates it becomes untouchable. When you have nothing, you are not weak. You are unseen. And there is great power in being unseen. From that invisibility you can observe, plan, and strike when others least expect it. The cunning do not complain about their lack of resources. They convert their disadvantages into tools of control. They learn people, they master perception, they turn scarcity into strategy. This is how you build leverage from nothing, not by chasing validation, but by mastering the game no one else sees. Every word you speak, every silence you hold, every alliance you build in the shadows, they all become pieces of your invisible empire. The world bows to those who understand how to move without noise, how to make others depend on them, and how to remain indispensable while appearing humble. Remember, power is not about what you have, it's about what others believe you have, and that belief, carefully shaped, becomes the foundation of your influence. So do not seek pity for having nothing. See it as your greatest weapon, because when you rise from emptiness, the world cannot predict your next move. You become what Machiavelli described as the new prince, a being forged not from comfort, but from chaos, ruthless, precise, and unstoppable. And those who once ignored you will soon whisper your name with both respect and fear.